Hi everyone, my name is Terry Westwell and today is Tuesday, which means it's time to discuss our book of the week, which is Love at First Night by Megan Clawson. So first, this is a spoiler-free section, so if you haven't read this book yet, don't worry about it, it won't be spoiled for you here. There will be some spoiler-related things that I want to discuss, but that will be later on in the video, and you will get plenty of warning. If you'd like to join in on any of the book discussions, send me your thoughts, comments, or even a short video clip of you discussing the book, then I'll list the next upcoming 4 books in the description below. So again, as usual, I didn't really know what to expect with Love at First Night. I've not read any of Megan Clawson before, but I was delightfully surprised. I'm not really big into anything historical, so I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about the night theme. I mean, it isn't a historical fiction or a historical romance, but I wasn't sure if it was going to be for me, and I ended up really enjoying it. I mean, I rated it 4 stars, and I thought that it was such an easy and fun read. Okay, so quick summary. She is no damsel in distress, and he's certainly not wearing any shining armour. But one night can change everything. Daisy has always felt like she was born in the wrong era, so when she bags a job at the Tower of London, helping run their night school, it feels like a step in the right direction. Teddy is a loose cannon, a disgraced, distant relative from the royal family. He's tall, dark, and now he's helping with the Tower of London's summer programme, and there's nowhere he'd rather be less. When Teddy's oath to be an obstruction almost gets Daisy fired, she declares war. But as the two cross swords, they start to discover that they're both in need of a little rescuing, and maybe, just maybe, love can bloom even on a battlefield. If I had to compare this to any other book, it would probably be something like The Pumpkin Spice Cafe or maybe The X-Talk, minus of course any spice, because Love at First Night doesn't contain any spice. It's also what I would consider to be a relatively mild enemies to lovers. The chapter lengths were great, and the writing style did take me a little bit to get used to, but I'd still consider it to be quite easy and straightforward. But what I will say is that it had quite a whimsical style about it. The main character is quite different. I mean, she lives her life sort of halfway through this alternative character from this fantasy world because it helps to give her confidence and the courage she needs, even in day-to-day life. I think she was such an interesting character, and once you wrap your head around that writing style, I think it ties in really well with who she is. I wouldn't even say that the writing style was a lot or even in your face. I think it's quite subtle, but it might not be for everyone. It was a wonderful twist on a typical romance story. It made it feel super unique and gave the characters some personality that I think really shone through. Also, it was set in the UK, and I think there were some wonderful details that really amplified that. I mean, ignoring the fact that the book was set in a pretty prominent part of London, I think it also reflected its settings in so many other ways, like how the characters communicated and how they acted with one another. Overall, I really enjoyed the book. I think that the main character was really relatable in a lot of ways, and she was really unique and interesting. So as for the question, would I recommend the book? Absolutely. I think it was a sweet and easy read with a unique main character and a really interesting concept. It was still a typical romance, but with a really nice and different twist. So will I be reading any more by Megan Clawson? Absolutely. I mean, I don't really know much about any of her other books, but I really enjoyed this one and I would be up for reading more of her work. So earlier on in the video, I said that you get plenty of warning for any upcoming spoilers. This is that moment, so if you haven't read this book yet, I would suggest going doing that first, because beyond this point, there's definitely spoilers. In the UK, everyone knows that if you're going anywhere, if you're driving anywhere, you will have at least a couple of family members or friends who want to discuss what route you're taking, what motorways you're going on, and some might even want to discuss what service stations you're stopping at. I know at least like 80% of drivers have favourite service stations, and maybe even ones that they'll just point blank refuse to stop at. I don't know why, it's just something we like to do and something that we like to discuss, especially if someone is driving any significant distance. Also, I may have laughed out loud when it discussed the stress of getting a cup of tea right, because it was totally true. Everyone likes it different, and sometimes it can be a really stressful ordeal. I am extremely picky when it comes to my tea, and despite the fact that my husband has now been making tea for me for years, I think it still stresses him out. I really liked the ending of the book. I thought it was a really sweet conclusion, and I liked seeing the development of Teddy's character. When they go into battle together is probably the first time you get a glimpse of who he really is, and I just thought that that was really sweet. And also the development of Daisy's character, I mean, realising that she doesn't need her alter ego anymore and finding ways to just be comfortable as herself. I will say though, out of all of the characters, I'm not really sure what the point was of the other potential love interest. You know, the American guy, I genuinely can't remember what his name is, but I just feel like the author could have done way more with him. I don't know, he just sort of popped up every now and then, and he didn't really feel necessary. I think I needed a little more for that part to work. Like, he just turned out to be some random guy who flirted with all the newbies, and I don't know, maybe it was meant to be an indicator of how much she'd grown and just how naive she was in the beginning, falling for the charms of this random guy. It kind of just felt like an odd little side story that wasn't fully fleshed out, rather than being a part of the main story itself. Minor issue that I had with the characters is that while I believe they were meant to be somewhere in their 20s, they didn't necessarily read that way. I think that they were definitely giving more YA, maybe 17, but I just don't feel like their age was as well represented as it could have been. But overall, I really enjoyed it, and I don't usually go for the royal romances either. Something about the nerd life and the anxiety representation really won me over. But let me know what you thought. Did you enjoy the book? Next week we're discussing Little Red Death by A.K. Benedict, so don't forget to get your thoughts and comments in by Sunday the 27th of April at the latest to be a part of the discussion. You can now do this on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram or Discord. The following week we'll be discussing Summer in the City, but don't forget if you do need a little bit longer to read a book, we do now list the next 4 books down below along with the discussion dates. That way you can choose the genre that best suits you and the best time frame to read it in. Thank you all for joining, and if you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, it's always appreciated, and I will see you in the next video. Bye! If you like romance, fantasy, or even thriller, basically anything fiction book related, then I suggest you head on over to the channel's intro video, where you can find out more information on how you can take part in this online book club. We announce books at least 4 weeks in advance, and we accept your bookish feedback in a wide manner of ways. Post your comment below a video, send in a voice note, or even send me a short video clip of you discussing the book. Alternatively, you can just send me a direct message.